Companies are not hiring. Not in the way you think. I'm not asking you to just take that on faith. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the assumption everyone makes. You go on Indeed, LinkedIn, wherever. You see thousands of listings. So the logical conclusion is there are jobs, companies need people, and so they're trying to find the best candidates. That sounds reasonable, doesn't it? It's also not what's actually happening. There's a term for this now: ghost jobs. This isn't some conspiracy, this is documented. Harvard Business Review wrote about it. There are job postings that companies leave up even when they are not actively trying to fill them. Why would they do that? A few reasons. Sometimes the role is already filled internally, but they're required to post it publicly anyway. Sometimes they want to build a pipeline just in case. Sometimes it's optics. They want to look like they're growing, like business is booming, like they're expanding. So the posting stays up and you apply to it thinking it's real. But here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. A recent survey found that around 40% of companies admit they posted jobs they weren't actively trying to fill. 40%. So before we even get into anything else, understand this. A significant chunk of what you're applying to is not a real opportunity in any meaningful sense. Nobody tells you that. They just say, keep applying. Now let's say you do get past that. Let's say that the job is real. You still don't get evaluated the way you think you do. Because the first thing that looks at your application is not a human being. It's software. Most companies use what's called an applicant tracking system, an ATS. And what that system does is scan your resume for keywords, formatting, specific phrasing. It's not asking, can this person do the job? It's asking, does this document match what we are told to look for?
They're the same picture.
If the answer is no, even slightly, you're gone. You could be overqualified. You could be perfectly qualified. You could be better than the person they eventually hire. Been there, done that many times. Doesn't matter. You don't match the filter. So when people tell you just apply anyway, they're missing the point. You're not being judged, you're being sorted. And then comes the part everyone experiences but no one explains. The silence. You apply, you tailor your resume, you write the cover letter, even though half the time nobody reads it. You follow every piece of advice you've been given, and then nothing. No rejection, no feedback, no response, just silence. They've normalized this to the point where people don't even question it anymore. But think about that for a second. If this were a real system designed to find the best candidate, there would be communication, there would be feedback, there would be closure. Instead, what you're interacting with is a black box. Because once you're filtered out, or the role is filled internally, or paused, or deprioritized, you cease to exist in the process. You're not a candidate. You're a data point that was processed and discarded. Now let's bring in actual data again, because this is where it gets even more telling. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks job openings versus actual hires, and consistently, there's a gap, a noticeable gap. Meaning, jobs posted do not equal jobs being filled. So when you hear about millions of open jobs, understand that doesn't translate to millions of actual hiring decisions happening in real time. There's friction in the system, a lot of it. And at the same time, you're being told that it can take hundreds of applications just to land a single interview. Hundreds. So think about the contradiction. If companies are desperate for workers, why does it take hundreds of applications to get one response? That's not a functioning marketplace. That's a bottleneck. Then, on top of all of this, they shift the responsibility onto you. You need to stand out. You need to network. You need to optimize your resume. You just need to walk right in there, look them straight in the eye, and offer them a firm handshake. Right, boomers? As if this is some clean, merit-based system where the best candidate naturally rises to the top. It's not. It's a volume management system. Companies are dealing with massive applicant pools, and their priority is not discovering hidden talent. It's reducing risk, saving time, and protecting themselves from bad hires. So they build systems that filter aggressively, communicate minimally, and justify everything through vague, unchangeable criteria. That's why everything feels inconsistent, because it is. And this ties directly to something I said in my last video. Being smart can actually work against you, because being smart often makes you overqualified for roles that don't want to pay you what you're worth, but not specialized enough for roles that demand hyper-specific experience. So you get filtered out on both ends. Too much for one, not exactly enough for the other. And what are you told? Fix your resume. When people say it's about who you know, not what you know, that's usually treated like some sort of cliche. But look at the system we just walked through. If applications are filtered by software, if many postings aren't even active, if responses are inconsistent or non-existent, then yes, relationships, referrals, and perceived status start to matter more because they bypass the entire broken pipeline. That's not a moral statement, it's a structural one. Now go back and think about your own experience. The jobs that never responded, the listings that stayed up for months, the interviews that went nowhere, the roles that disappeared and then reappeared weeks later. At the time, it feels random. It's not. It's the system functioning exactly as it was designed to. So no, you're not crazy. And no, you're not failing in the way they imply. You're just trying to navigate a system that is partially performative, heavily automated, and entirely optimized for the company, not for you. Once you understand that, something shifts. The silence stops feeling personal. The rejections, or lack thereof, stop feeling like a reflection of your worth. And you start to see the process for what it actually is. Not a clean path to opportunity, but a maze. One that most people are trying to solve without ever being told how it actually works. And that's why it feels impossible. Because it is.